Hi, Tagg. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I'm excited to be speaking with you today.
Andrew, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here and talk about some fun stuff.
So, Tagg, calling in from San Diego. Let's hear a little bit more about your organization. What is your role? What does a day in the life of Tagg look like?
Yeah, of course. So I work for Benchmarkit. What we do is we're kind of a content creation company, more focused on benchmarks for the B2B SaaS audience. So what we do is we create marketing reports based around certain metrics in the B2B SaaS area, and we turn those into content generating assets or lead gen assets, and then we go and do a bunch of different events on those as well. So we have a bunch of thought leaders, and we get everyone together in a really fun space for kind of B2B SaaS metrics, and we have events around those as well. So what I do is I'm the director of marketing here. We're a pretty lean organization. We're a pretty small startup right now. And so I handle all things marketing. So whether that's outbound marketing for all of our events, our research, our reports that are going out, or generating all of our web pages and designing, being the UX designer on our platform and our web pages here, and then finally doing all the fun stuff, which is all the report design and creation and everything like that.
So, as a one-man show, maybe you have
Yeah.
some vendors, some freelancers complement you in certain regards. How do you balance such right and left brain thinking simultaneously? As I heard you UX
Yeah.
design, and I also heard reporting, which seem almost contradictory of like a designer who likes numbers.
Yeah, totally. It's a very niche audience, right? So I like to say that I wear a lot of different hats, and I'm pretty decent at a lot of different things. So what I do is focus on my strengths, and then all of my coworkers, I depend on them for my weaknesses, right? So balancing right and left brain is for me, it's a pretty challenging topic. What I like to do and how I manage that is almost have days, right? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be like my analytical days, and then
Nice.
Tuesday, Thursday will be my creative brain days. So if I can kind of step into that role and really, work on something like that the whole day through, that's what really helps me get in and maybe achieve kind of my best quality of work on either side.
Can you share any type of marketing campaign strategy you're working on in 2025 that you're finding to be successful?
Yeah, of course. So, there's a bunch of fun stuff that I have here to kind of share for us. But the first thing that I really wanted to highlight, and something that I've noticed that works really well, maybe in 2025, which didn't work a couple of years previous, is for a lot of our lead generating content, we actually give that away for free. So it's lead generating content that's not generating many leads, but we do that on purpose, right? So what we found is that if you give away maybe 80%, 70 to 80% of your lead generating content away for free, so you aren't asking for forms, you aren't asking for registrations or anything, what you'll find is people will become more champions of your brand. They'll come back to your website more, they'll spend a lot more time on your page, and then they're more likely to download some of those assets in the future. Now, if we create champions of our company, or really great community members, audience members, they're more likely to attend one of our events. Now, a lot of our events are free. So that you're wondering, well, where's the business model, right? What are we doing? So what we do is we really wanted to create community members, and so we do that through offering free lead generating content, getting them to come to our webinars, becoming a champion of our brand, and then seeing all the great stuff that we have to offer. So eventually wanting to work with us in the future. So that's what, kind of just on the lead generation side. That's something that we've learned over the last couple of years is really working. Is really creating a great community of people who really are focused on your content. You aren't asking them for a whole lot of stuff, but maybe more offering them a bunch of fun things that you really enjoy, and then in turn, those people hopefully will want to work with you over the next couple of years. And so that's what I found is being really, which is helping me and helping Benchmarkit, more importantly, become really great and successful within everyone who we interact with.
Can you give a shout out to some of the events you have coming up? I don't know if this interview is going
Yeah,
to
of course.
air in time, but
Yeah.
I'm sure this isn't, a one-off event you're doing. So tell us a little bit about the events and how we could learn more about those.
Yeah, awesome. So we have four events coming up in May. Not sure when this is going to air, but we've got some great executive dinner series.
Hmm.
So two of these are going to be following pretty large conferences in the SaaS kind of industry. So the first one's in Austin. It's following after SaaS Talk USA. So that's going to be on May 12th. May 14th, we're going to be following SaaStr. We've got a dinner in the SF Bay area. So if you're in the Bay Area for SaaStr or in Austin for SaaS Talk, we'd love for you to stop by if you're a CFO or a CEO interested in talking about kind of challenges and best practices in SaaS metrics or in the SaaS metrics space. After that, we're going to be in New York. So May 19th, we've got a really cool dinner cruise over on the Hudson River. So in the city, we're going to go around all of New York and stuff. That is another event for CFOs, CEOs to talk about SaaS metrics. And then for CFOs, CEOs, and GTM executives, most importantly, we've got May 20th, a really cool a really cool SaaS Metrics Executive Summit in New York. It's a half-day summit where we kind of just go around. We have these big round tables. We're going to be talking about more challenges and best practices kind of in the SaaS industry. But this is going to be more of a hands-on workshop kind of event. So this summit's going to be more working with roundtable industry leaders on coming up with some kind of metrics best practices for your individual organization. What's going to work best for you? So those are our events in May, and then we've got a couple more events, coming down the lines of the rest of the year. We've got another SaaS Metrics Executive Summit in San Francisco. We've got a couple more dinners throughout the year, and then finally we've got our big event, our SaaS Metrics Palooza, and that happens every year in October. That's a 2 to 3 day event where we get a handful of really great industry executives and people who've been in the SaaS metric space for a while to come and talk about the changes that they're seeing in the industry and what the next year is going to look like.
So why is a tech business, a digital marketer, why are you doing so much stuff in person? I thought we just communicate on Discord all day.
Yeah. So that's great. So honestly, 2-3 years ago, totally right. We went through this kind of cataclysm of everyone who was going to these in-person giant trade shows. 2020 happened, it all stopped, and everyone is thinking, okay, how do we connect? Discord's a great idea. We use an online event management platform called AirMeet. They do a wonderful job of really turning a virtual event into somewhat of an in-person feel in an event, which is really, really cool. So totally agree. A couple of years ago, we wouldn't have been any motivated at all to leave our computers, but nowadays we're really noticing, hey, people are wanting to get back in person. They really want to be face to face. They're really wanting to meet with each other. And I think that's how the whole event industry is going is people are starting to crawl out of their caves again and going, man, I really miss that human interaction. I really miss getting those face-to-face connections, because those are the people who I really kind of create lasting value connections with and or long lasting relationships is those people you see a couple times throughout the year at maybe a trade show or something. So I think as the market or the industry starts to move towards back to in-person, that's what we're trying to do as well. 2 years ago, all of our events were online. That's, we had all online events. And it's not until these last couple of years that we've really started to transition back into those in-person events.
One thing I think that's fascinating about a marketer's role is that you need to have the social skills to look someone in the eye in person, while at the same time understanding AI. And that's a good transition into my question, which is, how has AI transformed your role as a marketer?
Yeah. So, what I want to first say is that AI, again, 2 years ago, transformed me so much differently than how it is now, right? So when AI first came onto the scene, it was, I could use this, but I think it's going to increase my efficiency. But man, I'm going to spend a lot of time on the back end if I don't make sure my prompts are excellent or really well thought out. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time editing. So how do I kind of start to integrate this? Then over the last 2 years, I really started to focus on great prompt creation and loading lots of information into kind of our AI LLMs. So, for example, I use Claude, I use ChatGPT for a majority of my kind of LLM content creation. That's what I'm using LLMs for mostly, or AI mostly, is that content creation, and then analytics as well. So, first, most importantly, I was watching a Ramp webinar a couple months ago, and there's a man by the name of Nicholas Boucher, and hopefully I'm not butchering his name there, but Nicholas Boucher at the AI Finance Club, he came up with a framework called the CSI FBI framework, and that's all about how to give kind of your AI a persona. So AIs do really well when you give them a persona. So how can we use a framework to really give these AIs personas? And so Nicholas Bouchard, I have to give him a shout out. He created the CSI FBI framework, which I highly recommend you go check out. Really helps to give your AI a persona. And then, okay, now that we've got a persona in our AI, what are we going to use it for, right? So what I really like to do is, I use it a lot of our email and content creation. I've gone from a copywriter to a copy editor, which allows us to do a lot more stuff, right? So 2 years ago, we weren't able to do as many events as we can now. With AI, we're able to just do all this outreach, both in our marketing automation platforms, but also hyper-personalized outreach, which I'll kind of touch on in a minute. And that outreach allows us to run a lot more events. It allows us to be, a lot more efficient, and allows us to put butts in seats when it matters most importantly. And so that's what AI has really transformed, my personal, or, my marketing outreach and kind of how I go about marketing things. But kind of more of a strategy or a tactical way to do this. And what we've been doing a lot lately is so let's go and try to do personalized email outreach to as many people who we think would be involved in our events or want to be involved. So what I'll do is I'll go on kind of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or I'll use Clay, and I'll start to build lists around people who I think would be interested in kind of the stuff that we're offering. Then I take those lists and I upload them into a tool like Copy AI, which can help scrape all those people's LinkedIn profiles, create really personalized outreach strategies. And then once I've got all those outreach emails, I can load those automatically into Apollo, and I can have our sales team go out to really specific audience, a highly targeted audience with a highly relevant message on something that we think that they'll really enjoy. And so that's how AI has really transformed through kind of a whole journey, kind of our marketing process and our outreach process.
I appreciate all those tools that you just laid out there.
Yeah.
If you had to summarize, the top three you enjoy going back to, what would those be?
Yeah. So obviously, Claude, ChatGPT are the goats. Those are the big powerhouses. I have to give out another shout out to a company we use, Deliver.ai. They are really great at audience creation and really understanding who would be interested in kind of your product offerings. So Deliver.ai. And then, like I mentioned before, Clay is a huge one. And Clay, is not necessarily a native AI tool, but they have a bunch of really great AI features built into their tool that helps me and our sales team really go after people who we think would be most interested in our product.
So Tagg, to wrap us up, can you share best ways to follow up with you, learn more about your organization, best ways to learn about these events you're hosting throughout the year?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have those landing pages built for all the events extending into October, as you're head down for May.
Of course. So always Benchmarkit. So BenchmarkIt.ai. So that's benchmarkit.ai. Come by our webpage, take a look at what we're doing, and see if there's any events that kind of interest you, or if you're in an area, would love to meet up. LinkedIn, if you want to follow me or give me a connect on LinkedIn, that's Tagg Hurtubise. So LinkedIn, and then TaggHurtubise, Tagg Hurtubise. And those are kind of the two best ways to reach out to me. If you want my email, it's tagg@benchmarkit. Shoot me an email, and would love to talk and connect more.
Perfect. Thank you for your time today, Tagg.
Yeah, of course.
Before we jump into our next guest, we want to take a moment to tell you about our marketing mastermind cohort, No Typical Marketers. If you are a marketing executive looking to connect with like-minded professionals, this is the space for you. It's more than just a Discord group. It's your exclusive ticket to monthly roundtable meetings where we have group discussions about advanced marketing strategies, share insights, and solve real-world challenges like implementing AI agents into your marketing. Membership is exclusive and by application only. If you're ready to take your marketing game to the next level, apply now using the link in the description below. We can't wait to see you there. Now, back to the episode.
Hi, Camela. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I am excited to be speaking with you today.
Thanks so much for having me here. I'm really looking forward to it.
So let's start off and hear a little bit more about your organization. What is your role at the company? What does the daily life of you look like?
Well, I am fractional, so there's a few organizations we could talk about. So I kind of specialize in early stage startups or small scrappy companies who kind of need a I don't know, utility player. I'll go to baseball. We were talking football earlier, so I'm in sports mode. So right now I'm working with Airfleet, which is based in Tel Aviv. I'm also working with a few other companies, including the RevOps Co-op, and getting ready to help them run a huge conference next week. So it's busy times, which I feel very fortunate.
In person or virtual?
Oh, in person.
How are you experiencing what I feel is the drift back to in real life events when it was such a heavy focus on virtual because of COVID for the longest period of time?
You know, that's a great question because I was head of marketing at CaliberMind during peak COVID. And then as things were kind of calming down, it took people a really long time to feel comfortable coming back to it. So we'd keep testing events and failing until we felt that it was picking up again. But it took several years. I think people are sick of webinars.
Correct.
They're really tired of it. And our first conference with the RevOps Co-op was last year. I know I had this experience of being relieved and just kind of overwhelmed with gratitude that I get to meet all these people I work with on a regular basis in person and really connect with them because it's just different in person. So I think the event types overall and what works is a bit different, but I think people are relieved to not be sitting and watching Zoom all the time.
Yeah, even as a 90s kid who grew up in AOL Instant Messenger, I feel myself getting antsy when I'm on webinars and presentations all day long. And I myself have been just getting back this year into in real life stuff. And it's a nice change of pace and the, handshake in person. As cheesy as it sounds, it's a different level of connection you can make.
Oh, yeah. Even the most introverted of us, and I am truly an introvert, we're still social creatures and built to be around others. So it totally makes sense.
So you have your hands in a lot of different pieces at the moment, a lot of different companies. I think you said you're a jack of a lot of trades. If you, were to think about some marketing campaigns and strategies you've been working on this year, what are some things that are working well for you?
It depends on the company and the strengths of the people. So what works really well, authentic content driven by the experts that are internal to the company. What format that goes on is really dependent on where they're most comfortable. So if we have somebody who is kind of a ham and doesn't mean they like being in front of a camera, then video format is fantastic. And we still leverage LinkedIn quite heavily. We keep trying different social platforms and seeing what works, and it's in flux depending on which market you're focused on, especially. So like TikTok had a moment here in the US.
I've seen some big reach decline since January 19th on TikTok.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it was assigned to them to kind of unhook because it's such an addictive platform, and they got away from it for a minute and we're like, oh, this is actually healthier. So that doesn't surprise me too much, but I keep an eye on it because YouTube short format still works really well in the US.
So if you were to have a humble brag about yourself and share, something innovative you feel you bring to the table in the area of marketing. What is something that you feel is innovative in your approach?
Uh, well, I come from an operations and analytics background, so I'm really data driven. And I think my humble brag would be I truly do look at the numbers. We try a lot of things, but I study the results really intensely to figure out where to shift my efforts. So with some companies, LinkedIn, it's okay. With some, it works really well. So just the adaptability and ability to step back and not get stuck on one tactic and truly look at the numbers.
I think
very operations answer.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to that is I think digital marketing the year 2025 is a beautiful blend of art and science, left and right brain. And it sounds like you're much more on the left brain side with the analytics and the numbers. Someone who might be too art centered in their approach to digital marketing, what advice would you want to share with them to, pull them a little bit towards the ops and data side where your brain gravitates towards?
Know your weaknesses. It's not like I am not the most creative. I'm an artist, but I do not do graphic design. Sometimes I'm forced to do it, but it's not the best. So I know that's one of my weaknesses, and that's probably going to be one of my first hires. So understand where you're not really comfortable. Hire someone who's really strong at that you can partner with and trust. You don't have to learn it and do it all by yourself, but you do need to lean into it enough to speak the language of the rest of the executive team and really tie what you're doing into pipeline and bookings.
Speaking of design, an answer I sometimes get from marketing executives who might not be great at design, but they know what they like. They're starting to use Canva and the AI within Canva on their own. And instead of waiting for a design agency, to have a week turnaround, they can just do it an hour in their afternoon. Are you using any AI tools like a Canva to help you yourself with design creation?
Oh yeah. Yeah. ChatGPT's latest form, not Dolly, because then you're going to get 8 fingers, but they came out with some new iterations on the paid version that are pretty fantastic. So at the conference that's coming up, I wanted to do some kind of music type posters for a venue we're going to, and it saved me so much time and heartache. So absolutely. On the writing side, I use it quite a bit too. My attitude has changed drastically in just the past few months. So yeah, it's something I'm definitely leaning into because it's a huge time saver.
So on the subject of AI, it's hard to talk about marketing without involving AI and the dialogue. How has AI transformed your role as a marketer in the last few years?
I think so. The productivity boost is undeniable. I can do so many things in a fraction of the time. I think what I try to be mindful of is not lose that connection with the customer and drive to really interact with the people who are familiar and unfamiliar with the product, but are in our target market. I feel like AI is great, but it can make us a little bit lazy. I just feel like stepping away from the customer and not understanding how they think and communicate is such a huge mistake. So you really need to have both.
So that's a great kind of the dark side of AI. I just want to highlight that a little bit, as sometimes we're in fantasy land of how AI is going to, transform everything. So in your perspective, don't get lazy with AI. Make sure you still understand the customer, kind of marketing 101.
Exactly. And we saw the same thing with like mass blast email tools. So we started with them in marketing. Sales was begging us not to email their territory because it was negatively impacting their connection with customers. Then they got the tool and started blasting everyone. And we had these really junior reps coming in. Their instinct was to just email everyone without first understanding the persona and pain points. And they're burning equity. And I see a lot of company founders who aren't keen to invest in marketing doing the same thing, where they're going to AI, they're thinking this is going to scale everything, but they're not understanding the real customer pain points first, and they're just burning equity with their audience. So this is something we've done over and over again in different forms. And yeah, it's something we need to keep an eye on.
So my last question today is around AI tools. We've talked about a few: ChatGPT, Canva. Can you share, maybe it's another LLM or maybe a standalone software or AI that's embedded into a software like a Canva that you go back to on a regular basis?
So I mentioned a lot of my clients, video works really well. So I'm always moving between, like, I was an old Camtasia fan. Now I've moved much more towards Descript. Opus Pro is something that I lean
We
into
use
sometimes.
Opus for our
Yeah.
podcast, and VideoTap as well. Those are our two go-to for the podcast.
Yeah. And Descript, like, at first I shied away from it because shortening the pauses, it was very choppy. And if anything, people are much more pickier about audio than video, and it's gotten so much better in such a short time. So I'll try that tool out too, because I'm always looking for the next thing.
So to wrap this up, can you share best ways that we can follow up with you, learn more about you, maybe some of these organizations that you're a fractional marketing executive at?
Yeah, so please do check out airfleet.co. Their design is amazing. Their designers are incredible. And I'm just always in awe of what Dina, the head of design, comes up with. It's just gorgeous. And you can find me on LinkedIn under Camela Thompson. And I also run several podcasts. So if you're into marketing, the Revenue Marketing Report, and if you're into operations, which you probably aren't if you're listening to this, RevOps AF, the podcast.
Perfect. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much.